lecture. Let us express our gratitude to God Almighty for the grace and blessing that allow us to gather today in good hope for the expert lecture on the theme Approach in Systematic Literature Review. My name is Arifah Novari, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for today's event. This event have some part. The first part is opening, second singing the national anthem Indonesia Raya and March Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa University. The third opening remarks, and the first remark from the head of the organizing committee, and the second remark is from the director of postgraduate studies. And the fourth, the main event, the expert lecture by our speaker, which will be moderated by the moderator. The fifth is Q&A and discussion session. And the last is closing, prayer, and closing. The first agenda is opening. To commence this event, let us open the expert lecture by reciting Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The second agenda is singing the national anthem and continue with March Untirta.
Can you hear the sound of the national anthem?
No, I think.
Okay.
Indonesia tanah airku, tanah tumpah darahku. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jadi panggung ibuku. Indonesia kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah airku. Marilah kita berseru, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah tanahku, hiduplah negeriku, bangsaku, rakyatku semuanya. Bangunlah jiwanya, bangunlah badannya untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Kita semua mahasiswa Untirta, perguruan tinggi kita, dengan semboyan maju terus dalam menuntut ilmu. Senantiasa laksanakan tridharma perguruan tinggi, pengamal Pancasila dan Undang-Undang Dasar 45. Siap membantu dalam pembangunan di segala bidang, demi nusa bangsa tercinta Indonesia Merdeka.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is remarks. The first, we invite the head of the organizing committee, Professor Dr. Asep Muhyiddin, MPD, to deliver the remarks. Please welcome Professor Asep.
Terima kasih. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Rabbi shrah sadri wa yassir amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Yang terhormat Direktur Pascasarjana yang dalam kesempatan ini diwakili oleh Wakil Direktur 1 Profesor Anton. Kemudian yang terhormat pemateri Associate Prof Mehmet Filiz, Ph.D. dari Faculty of Education, Amasya University. Thank you for coming in Tirtayasa University. Dan yang dihormati Sekprodi Ibu Nani Mariani Ph.D., kemudian moderator Bapak Cecep Anwar, sekaligus juga saya mengucapkan selamat, mudah-mudahan SK profesornya segera turun. Dan yang saya banggakan para peserta kuliah pakar yang ketiga. Ini kuliah pakar yang ketiga ya, kuliah pakar internasional yang ketiga. Karena kita ada 4 kali kuliah pakar, dan pada kesempatan ini temanya yaitu pendekatan SLR atau approach of SLR, Systematic Literatur Review, dalam rangka mendukung mata kuliah Penulisan Karya Ilmiah dan Tinjauan Literatur Internasional. Jadi yang diwajibkan, sangat wajib itu mahasiswa yang mengontrak mata kuliah itu. Tetapi juga pesertanya ternyata banyak juga mahasiswa dari angkatan-angkatan sebelumnya, terutama yang sedang membuat artikel ilmiah, karena untuk lulus menjadi doktor itu perlu mahasiswa menulis dalam proceeding internasional sebagai presenter, kemudian juga itu menulis jurnal terindeks minimal Sinta 2 untuk yang di Indonesia, dan satu lagi itu jurnal internasional bereputasi baik terindeks Scopus maupun POS. Dan hari ini Bapak dan Ibu akan mendapatkan ilmu dari Assoc Prof Mehmet Filiz berkaitan dengan bagaimana menulis artikel dengan pendekatan sistematik literatur review. Yang terakhir kepada Bapak Wakil Direktur 1 Pascasarjana, Profesor Anton, diharapkan untuk membuka kegiatan ini. Itu saja yang saya sampaikan, kurang lebihnya mohon maaf. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bu Ari, suaranya masih mute.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor, for the remarks. Next, we invite the Director of Postgraduate Studies, the Honorable Professor Dr. Aan Aspianto, SHSSIMH, today represented by the Vice Director, to deliver the remarks and officially open this expert lecture. Professor Dr. Engineering Insinyur Anton Irwan, MT MPM ASEAN Engineering, please your turn.
Thank you, MC ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, distinguished professors,
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Professor Asep, Professor Cecep, and others. Also distinguished speakers, Associate Professor Mehmet Filiz, Ph.D. And also thank you to doctoral management, Professor Asep and Dr. Nani, and also for all participants. On behalf of the Director of the Postgraduate School, Universitas Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to everyone, especially to our speakers, Associate Professor Mehmet Filiz, Ph.D. Will give his experience in the expert lecture with the title Approach in Systematic Literature Review. I think this topic is now is for apa I think very important due to the artificial intelligence ya, and hopefully Associate Professor Mehmet Filiz will deliver his experience to us. I think it is important. As, we are truly honored to have Associate Professor Mehmet Filiz from Amasya University. Your presence, I think this is it will bring a great value to our academic community in Universitas Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa, especially for the doctoral program. You know, in doctoral program must write like article, publication, and then we need the systematic literature review from the before the other researchers. I would like to express my appreciation to the doctoral management in education program in our university, Professor Dr. Asep Muhyiddin as a coordinator, and Dr. Nani Miryani, MSc as a secretary coordinator, and also the organizing committee for dedication in arranging this important academic event. Hopefully, to all participants, I want all participants active ask question because it is important topic I think ya, to enhance your research competence. Once again, thank you, and I wish all of us get inspiring and fruitful discussion from this event. With say Bismillah, this event is opened. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you all.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Wabarakatuh. Thank you to Professor Anton for the remarks and for officially opening this expert lecture. We hope this event will run smoothly and provide valuable insight for all of us. But before we start, permission for take the picture. Miss Nani will be guide. Please, ma'am.
Okay. Please open your camera on before I take a screenshot of this Zoom screen. And I hope during the lecture you can also open your camera on so we can be more interactive. Ready? 1, 2. Sekali lagi ya. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Oke, thank you Bu Ari.
Thank you, Miss Nani. Next, we are moved to the fourth agenda. It is the expert lecture session. The honorable audience, we have now arrived at the main event we have all been waiting for, the expert lecture on the topic, Approach in Systematic Literature Review. Distinguished guests, it is now time for us to introduce the esteemed moderator who will be leading our session. He is an academician and education practitioner with an outstanding track record, particularly in curriculum development and quality assurance in mathematics education. Welcome, Dr. Cecep Anwar Hadi Firdaus Asantosa, MSI. He holds the academic rank of associate professor and possesses a very strong educational background, having completed his doctoral in mathematics education from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. His dedication to enhancing the quality of education in Indonesia is highly commendable. Currently, he actively serves as an assessor for the Independent Accreditation Institute for Education, or LAMDIC, a role he has held since 2022. His commitment is also evident through role as the coordinator of the Research and Publication Commission for the prestigious organization, the Indonesian Mathematical Society, or Indo-MS, from 2024 to 2026.
Ayo duduk. Mau
According to
ngapain
the
kalian
and
berdiri?
writer, Dr. Cecep has generated a substantial body of work.
Kita presentasinya
His
dulu.
articles have been published in reputable international journals, and he is a co-author of several significant textbooks, including Contemporary Research Method, Multivariable Calculus. His expertise is further recognized by his competency certificate in both risk management and notification book writing. Once again, please offer a warm and enthusiastic welcome to Dr. Cecep Anwar Hadi Firdaus Santosa, MSI. Turn is yours. Please.
Ya, baik. Terima kasih Bu Ari. Good morning, Mehmet.
Good morning.
Yeah, how are you, Mehmet?
I am doing well, thank you.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. Good afternoon, everyone. Maybe in Turkey is still in the morning, and in Indonesia is day, maybe or afternoon. On behalf of Universitas Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa, I would like to warmly welcome our participant to today's guest lecture, and we are very delighted to have our college lecturer and also student from Universitas Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa joining us in this academic forum. This event is part of our international academic collaboration and knowledge sharing initiative. And through this session like this, our objective, or we aim to enhance our understanding of research methodologies and also strengthen scholarly connection between Universitas Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa and Amasya University, Turkey. The topic today's for guest lecture is approach in systematic literature review. This topic is particularly, as mentioned by Prof. Anton, very important for researcher, lecturer, and students who are conducting academic research, writing thesis, or preparing journal articles. Systematic literature review help us to critically and transparently synthesize previous studies and for providing a strong foundation for evidence-based research. It is my great pleasure to introduce our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Mehmet Filiz. He is a lecturer and also associate professor at the Department of Educational Measurement and Education, Faculty of Education, Amasya University, Turkey. From his curriculum vitae, Dr. Filiz earned his doctoral degree from the Queen's University of Belfast, similar with Dr. Udi Samanhudi, I think, and Dr. Mehmet is Mr. Udi's friend in the Queen University of Belfast. His research focus on when he in doctoral study, enhancing student statistic proficiency through computer-assisted feedback. He also holds a master degree from Karadenis Technical University and a bachelor degree from Hondokus Mayis University. His research interests include educational measurement, research methodology, and of course technology, enhanced learning, and also statistics and mathematics education. Dr. Mehmet Filiz has and co-author numerous publications in reputable international journals, such as the International Journal of Educational Research and the Review of Education. And he also an editorial board member for several academic journals under Elsevier and other educational publisher. The article published, he write in his CV about 9 or maybe more, and the latest publication is publication Mehmet helped me to write an article. The title is Investigating the Limit of Peer Collaboration, inside from work example in multivariable calculus, and many more article Mehmet write. In his CV also, he has been involved in several European funded international projects on digital transformation and also in inclusive education. All right, we are truly honored to have Dr. Mehmet with us today to share his insight and experience. Maybe without further delay, please join me welcoming Dr. Mehmet Filiz to deliver his lecture on approach in systematic literature review. Dr. Filiz, the screen is yours, and you can present your course today about 1 hour, and then we will collect a question from the audience to Q&A session. Please, Mr. Dr. Filiz.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for introducing me and your kind words about me. And I would like to start my presentation now. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, in this presentation, I will provide the overview of each step needed to conduct systematic reviews in education. Also, I will talk about the systematic review that I published in about statistics education. Also, before preparing my presentation, I talked to Dr. Nani about the content of the presentation. She said there will be many audience, like many audiences from different departments. That's why I try to give different examples, like from early childhood education, educational technology, science education, social education, and so on. So, this systematic reviews attempts to collate all empirical evidence that fits pre-specified eligibility criteria in order to answer specific research questions. Throughout my presentation, I will talk about mainly like how to create, how to generate research question and how to create search string. These are very important part of systematic review. It uses explicit systematic methods that are selected with a view to minimizing bias, thus providing more reliable findings, which conclusions can be drawn and decision made. That's why systematic reviews can be replicated by other scholars as well. and they are gonna find the same results actually. So, a review of existing literature that aims to reduce bias and error in each stage by identifying and critically evaluating and providing synthesis of relevant studies. Systematic reviews can provide narrative synthesis and or meta-analysis. Now, I will talk about what are the differences and similarities between systematic review and narrative review. We are familiar with narrative review because we can use it like while we are writing our thesis. So systematic reviews are quite different than narrative review. So systematic reviews involve synthesis of studies, including a meta-analysis when possible. But narrative reviews is the descriptive review of literature, without counting synthesis. Systematic review also extends search of the literature using systematic methods. But in narrative review, there are subsets of studies chosen for availability or author selection. That's why it can cause bias. In systematic review, there is high levels of transparency. On the other hand, in narrative review, there will be probability of having risk of bias. In systematic review, there are clearly defined research questions. Soon we will be talking about this. And narrative reviews aims to provide the overview of an area. In systematic review, the data synthesis is based on data extraction and synthesis guidelines. On the other hand, in narrative review, data synthesis is based upon what the author selects. So, for that reason, narrative reviews are subject to publication bias, dissemination bias, outcome reporting bias, confirmation bias, and selection bias. Let's talk about these bias. Yeah, publication bias. Studies with positive results are more likely to be published than those with negative or null results. Dissemination bias. Studies with positive results are published faster, cited more often, and easier to locate. Outcome reporting bias. Within studies with mixed results, significant results are more likely to be reported and to have data reported. Confirmation bias, tendency to seek and accept information that confirms prior expectations. Lastly, selection bias resulting from selection of studies into systematic review. So, what are the limitations and strength of systematic reviews? Systematic reviews provides greater evidence of strength, greater strength of evidence than a single study. And it gives opportunity to investigate variation of the result and what works in certain settings. And it's readily available method. It generates principles and methods that minimize error and bias at each stage, and it provides overview of existing body of knowledge in that area. How about the limitations? Can be explosive of evidence. It might combine poor quality studies to produce estimated effect size of the population that might be not reliable. Also, based on the criteria may be too narrow. That's why we can exclude the required articles or studies from our review. So, when should we conduct systematic reviews? So, when previous research on an issue has been conducted and there is uncertainty about an issue, such as policy service intervention effectiveness. A need for evidence when developing policy and initiative. Unanswered questions remaining about topic despite research being previously conducted. A need for an overall picture of evidence to direct future research. A need for accurately combining previous research and methodologies to promote the development of new technologies. So, mainly we have 5 different reasons to conduct systematic reviews, my friends. So, finally, we are at this stage of writing systematic review. Yes. So, I divided into 3 parts: introduction, methods, writing results. The introduction, we need to formulate our research question, and we should define the intervention and outcome clearly. We need to describe why the intervention and outcome is important. Then we need to select the most suitable theoretical and conceptual framework. This is important because the studies mainly lack of theoretical or conceptual framework. This will help us to discuss our findings. So it is important for our introduction section as well as the discussion part. And conduct the rapid review of related systematic review of meta-analysis. When we conduct rapid review of systematic reviews or meta-analysis, that will highlight the importance of our systematic review. In the method section, there are 6 stages: selecting databases, identify key concepts and develop search string, determining inclusion and exclusion criteria, screening results, and ask your colleague to screen results. This is very important. Systematic reviews needs collaboration. This is kind of when we conduct qualitative research, we ask other researchers to do analysis and we compare our results for the reliability of our analysis. This is similar to that idea. So we need to create a Prisma flow diagram and then create data extraction table. In writing results will be in 3 steps: assessing methodological rigor and the overall quality of included studies, synthesis of studies, and presenting your results. So let's start with introduction. Yeah. So formulating a research question is the topic issue you want to investigate with your review. It must be well defined to ensure it is manageable within the given frame. It is conceptually clear to enable a differentiation between relevant and irrelevant studies. So let's talk about PICO framework. That is, I like a lot. I will often show my students to even write their research question. So research question should consider what evidence is needed to address the question. That means research question should state population of interest. Research question should consider the outcome and intervention have clear operational definitions. That means intervention being focused upon. We will talk about it later. Like I will give you like many more examples about this. This conceptual relationship being studied is clear and well defined. It is comparators. For example, comparing like the computer-based, it's like the AI-based instruction versus like the traditional one. Theoretical and practical context, the question is stated, outcome of interest. Is there enough research available on the topic to warrant a systematic review? Like context and time period being considering. Context means like the area that we want to conduct systematic review. The time period sometimes will limit the articles for studies, for example, within the last 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years. But if we state time period, we need to justify the reason in the method section. So, for example, let's say the pickup framework in action. For example, in my previous studies, I use pickup framework. Like we don't sometimes it can be like PIO. You can see it here. For example, how can university students' statistical self-concept be measured? Which interventions can improve students' statistical self-concepts? Like PICO framework will help us to state our research question clearly. Yeah, let's give examples from like different disciplines in education. For example, in education, the population will be university students in a large introductory survey courses. Intervention will be the use of AI powered for their homework and practices, comparison traditional static assignments. Outcome will be like course pass grades and final exam programs. Based on this, like the population intervention and comparison and outcome, we can formulate research question in this way. In the university students in the large introductory courses, does the use of intelligent tutoring systems compared to traditional homework assignments lead to higher course pass rates and final exam performance? So in teacher education, for example, population will be pre-service teachers, like could be students teacher, we can name it in that way as well. Immersive simulations for practicing classroom management, comparison traditional role-playing with peers or case study analysis. Outcome will be teacher self-efficacy and observable classroom management skills during students' teaching. So how can we formulate the question? For pre-service teachers, do immersive simulations compared to traditional role-playing more effectively improve classroom management, self-efficacy, and observable skills? While you are listening my presentation, if you have an idea about like the systematic review, you can write your research question, then we can talk about it. Like you can write in the chat area, we can talk about it. So another example will be from science education. So population intervention comparison outcome. Population would be middle school students. Intervention would be student science projects. Comparison will be standard in-class laboratory experiments. Outcome will be scientific literacy and students' attitudes towards science. So the research question will be, in middle school students, what is the effect of participating in citizen science projects compared to standard laboratory experiments on their scientific literacy and attitudes towards science? In mathematics education, this is my expertise actually. So population will be 9th grade algebra students. Intervention will be produce productive failure pedagogy. Comparison will be direct instruction, and outcome will be conceptual understanding of algebraic concepts, and procedural fluency. Based on this information, research question can be formulated in this way. For ninth grade algebra students, does a productive failure approach compared to traditional direct instruction lead to deeper conceptual understanding and procedural fluency? So it's to be for language education. The one my friend Udi is expert on this. So population will be adolescent second language learners. Intervention will be tandem language exchange. Comparison will be traditional classroom only instruction. Outcome competence and second language oral fluency. We can formulate the research question in this way. In adolescent second language learners, does the participation in digital tandem language exchange compared to classroom only instruction result in greater gains in communicative competence and oral fluency? So it's social studies like civics, social education. Population will be high school social students. This intervention discussion of controversial public issues using structural academic controversy. Comparison will be like standard debate format or textbook-based instruction. Outcome will be critical thinking skills and political tolerance. Yeah. Formulated research question will be, among high school students, how does using structural academic controversy method to discuss public issues compared to standard debate in developing critical thinking and political tolerance? In primary education, I would like to just say the research question. In the third grade students, does an integrated arts education model compared to art and course subjects separately lead to higher engagement and knowledge retention in core subjects? So when we read any research question, we should get what is population, what is intervention, what is comparison, what is outcome. This is the basic of all research, I believe. So how about early childhood education? I will say the formulated research question. In preschool age children, how do outdoor nature-based programs compare to traditional indoor preschools in fostering development of gross motor skills, self-regulation, social behavior? In Turkey, it's getting more common that all private preschools have nature-based programs. They are taking kids to nature, and at least they are giving more pay attention to place in their gardens. So, after formulating research question, we should define intervention and outcome properly. For example, in my example, my case was self-concept. It can be mixed by self-esteem and self-efficacy. That's why I define what these concepts are and examples of survey items. For example, I can learn statistics self-concepts. Self-esteem, I am proud of my statistics ability. Self-efficacy, I am confident that I can accurately interpret the dependent samples details. As I said, you should define your intervention or outcome clearly. And describe why the intervention outcome is important. For example, a positive self-concept can lead to improved academic achievement and motivation, continuous effort, and better educational choices, such as academic persistence and long-term educational attainment. Thus, conducting research how academic self-concept can be developed is important. Systematic reviews provide an opportunity for both identifying most widely used self-concept measures and comparing impacts of different interventions on students' self-concept. So, as I said, it is better for you to choose most suitable theoretical or conceptual framework for your research. This will help you to even for selecting keywords, like the deciding keywords for search. Also, it will help you to discuss your findings. So there are like three different theories could be related to self-concept. One is self-determination theory. Other one, self-efficacy theory. The last one is the equals expectancy value model. So in my research, I chose the last one because it gives like the relationship between, it gives information about how self-concept related to academic choices and academic achievement. So, as I said, in order to highlight the importance of your systematic review, we should conduct a rapid review of related systematic reviews. For example, when you search for the keywords on Scopus, you can choose the type of study as reviews. So it can list you like the meta-analysis, systematic reviews, and narrative reviews on that topic. So, for example, here, I choose three related some sort of reviews about my topic. The one is inventory of self-concept measures, but it is not domain specific. So my topic was statistics self-concept. So Hank 2011 performed a meta-analysis to explore the association between self-concept and achievement. This is not content specific. Dempster and Mascori investigate the relationship between cognitive competence, that means statistics self-concept, and other dimensions of statistics attitude. So there is no systematic review about the relationship between statistics self-concept and achievement. Or like how can we improve students' statistics self-concepts? So methods will have 6 different stages. I hope my presentation is not boring. And at the first stage, we should select databases. And in my review, I selected 5 different databases. 3 of them are specific to education. 2 of them are wider scope databases. ERIC, PsycInfo, Psych Articles, Web of Science, and Scopus. Like you can increase the number of the databases, that will increase your work. That will increase your workload. Also, you need to include like gray literature, like the conference papers and so on. That will increase the reliability of your systematic review. So, we need to develop search string. A search string refers to the terms that are used to search literature databases. A search string should include all relevant terms that link to your formulated research question. To ensure the most effective search string is used, several primary searches can be conducted to determine which is most successful. So we recommend that before doing systematic review, you need to read like maybe more than 20 papers about the topic, so that you can effectively create your search string. Sometimes, like recently, I did like kind of systematic review, like I am working on it. So I found around 220 studies. I did like title screening and abstract screening. I realized that like the researchers state that phrase in different way. So I add that one into search thing. I did the search again. So you need to back and forth between like when you read your paper, reading papers, and improving your search string and strategy. So you should use Boolean operators and or not. Like and means both terms can be presented for the paper appear the search. For example, education and attainment. It will look for the articles containing education and attainment words. Or either term may be present for the paper that appear in the research. It used to search for synonyms or related phrase, for example, trial or experiment. Not ensures terms that are not included in the present results. I have never used not. I use and or. So again, the pick of framework, student and course or a college or university, because my focus was on university students. My population was university students. Then statistical concepts or cognitive competence. That means the article should include either statistical concept or cognitive competence. Look at the parentheses. Why we have parentheses? Because in almost all search databases, and is superior than or. For example, if there are no parentheses here, the databases will understand our keywords like student and course, or college, or university and statistical concepts, or cognitive competence. That means we are gonna get articles even only including cognitive competence. So let's return to the examples. Okay, let's return to our examples. For example, the one was about educational technology. The search string will be university students or college students or undergraduates or higher school education. This is population part, right? And intelligent tutoring system, AI tutor. Look at asterisks here. Like like it will include AI tutor, AI tutors, AI tutoring, similar to that, or adaptive learning. This is intervention, academic performance, exam performance, pass rate, or pass rates, achievement, learning outcomes. These are outcomes. Okay. So in teacher education, pre-service teachers, student teachers, teacher candidates, initial teacher education is a population that these words refers to population. Immersive simulation, virtual reality, VR, tech life, immersion. This refer to uh, intervention, classroom management, self-efficacy, skill, or competence. These are referred to our outcome. Here, let's classroom management self-efficacy, classroom management skills, classroom management confidence. In this particular to this example, we divided outcome into two different strings. Science education, for example, middle school, secondary school, adolescents, K-12, or student, and citizen science and science literacy, attitude towards science management. You can see the first part is population, second part is intervention, the third and last part is outcome. In mathematics education, for example, like mathematics education or algebra and math is the first part, I mean the population. Productive failure, productive struggle is intervention. Conceptual understanding, procedural fluency, achievement, and learning are outcomes. Language education is similar. The first part is research question. Second part is intervention. The last part is outcome. And social education is the same. Primary education is the same. Early childhood is the same. So, using the search string, selected databases are screened for relevant paper. Many databases have internal filters to refine the search results further in line with your focus. For example, you can focus on only research articles. You can focus on the articles published in the several languages that you can understand. Literature searches should include gray literature to overcome search, selection, and publication bias. Yes. Let's talk about inclusion and exclusion criteria. This stage should describe the types of studies, intervention, population outcomes that are eligible for inclusion and exclusion. The more detail provided in the criteria, the easier it is search the literature in clear and efficient manner. Explicit criteria will also reduce bias and error, ensure to justify your decision. So, factors should be can be considered at this stage here of publication. Publication status, outcome measures, intervention, context, population, and study design. For example, in my research, studies must be published between 1970. This is as big as I can go in the databases. That's why I state this date. And between March 26, 2019, that is the one I complete. That is the date I complete doing screening. Full text must be accessible. Study must be written in English. Studies self-concept must be determined. Participants must be university or college students. If there are statistics self-concept scales, the relevant statistical data for statistics self-concept must be reported, such as from
Kayaknya Mehmetnya ini ya Bu Ari ya. Oh, Pak Mehmetnya terlempar ya nampaknya ya.
Ya, nggak ada suaranya nih.
Oh iya, terlempar di Zoom, nanti kita tunggu sebentar ya.
Sorry, my connection is lost. I guess.
Yeah,
Nggak
that's
ada.
fine, Mehmet. Yeah, you can continue, Mehmet. Yeah.
I guess I need to share my screen again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was talking about publishing the protocol. There are some journals and some databases that you can publish your protocol there. In some journals, like in the most reputable journals, sometimes ask whether if you publish your protocol earlier at somewhere else. So the protocol will include information on literature, description of intervention. Literature means like short information about your systematic review. Description of outcome measurements, research question, methodology, data collection and analysis, data synthesis. So far, if you follow the steps that I share with you, by this time you are ready to write your protocol and you can publish it at somewhere else. So, screen results and ask your colleague. This is very important to validity and reliability of your coding. So, screen all results at title and abstract level to identify studies that meet inclusion criteria. If unsure, include for intake citation. So we start from title, then abstract, then the full text. Obtain full text for paper those past initial screening to screen in text against inclusion and exclusion criteria. A data extraction form is helpful at this stage to maintain consistency and transparency of methods. So, for example, in my case, I remove duplicates first, then exclude records by title and abstract. Like by title, I exclude 131 studies. By abstract, I exclude 51 studies. So there are 35 articles left. Like I removed 14 of them based on inclusion and exclusion criteria. I used 21 studies to include my synthesis. So I did one of my colleagues did the same screening, followed the same procedure, and she used the same inclusion exclusion criteria. We found that our Cohen's kappa is about like 0.90. It is very high. Cohen's kappa is the agreement rate, which is the number of agreed on codes divided by total number of coding opportunities. Next one is creating a Prisma flow diagram. When you publish your systematic review, they will ask you to create something similar to this one if you haven't done so. It starts with like the databases, like how many articles came from like different databases and the number of records after duplicates were removed. Then record screened by title and abstract. Full text article assessed for eligibility. This is our exclusion and inclusion criteria. There you go. Okay. So once we have, like, for example, I had 21 articles there. What I did is I used data extraction form aligned with the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Data exclusion forms should include information of population, intervention, comparator, outcome measures, study design, publication date, methods, context, key study results and study limitation. As I mentioned earlier, more than one reviewer should be involved in this stage. So I use again Pico. I am gonna show you. This is the long version of data extraction table, population intervention comparison, outcome, study design, study context, and other details. So in my case, I use again Pico framework, participant intervention comparison outcome. For example, the authors and years, like the identifier of articles, like the participants and intervention. For example, a classroom workbook approach designed based on active learning approach. Comparison, pre and post stats. There is a control group, yet it's data from another study. Look at this. Also, I got the outcomes here. So now this stage, in three stage, I'm going to show you how to write your results. So at the first step, we need to assess methodological and overall quality of included studies. Our purpose is to assist in identifying any potential biases or inaccuracy within the study, whilst helping to interpret the data in its practical and theoretical context. Yeah. Results from this stage will be used when synthesis is conducted. This step will be a critical evaluation of the information collected in the data extraction form. So, in my case, I found 7 studies exploring the influence of different teaching methods on statistics self-concept. That I classified them based on their methodologies, pre-test and post-test only design, or pre-test and post-test with a comparison or control group design. Unfortunately, there were no randomized control trial at that time. That's why in my thesis, I use RCT to determine the impact of computer-assisted teacher feedback or peer feedback on students' statistics self-concept. So, why we synthesis? Like the purpose of synthesis of studies to combine results across studies, testing for any differences in results between studies to provide a summary of the findings. When conducting synthesis, consider the author's discussion on analysis carried out, missing data and its impacts on findings, because like when we collect data, especially large databases, what happens is there will be some missing data, unfortunately. There are like different ways of handling this on, like the assigning means to there, also removing missing data from whole the data set. Generality and limitation of findings, practical interpretation of significance of effects, distinguishes between study-generated and synthesis-generated evidence. So, when integrating results from numerous studies, you should consider variation in populations, interventions, outcome, methods, context, and settings, study design. By the end of this step, you should have successfully provided a summary of research evidence deriving upon its conclusiveness, generalizability to the population and limitations. For example, in my case, to illustrate how statistics self-concepts can be measured, I use pie charts and diagrams here. So, I found 20 studies measuring statistics self-concepts. 13 of them use the survey of attitudes towards statistics. 7 of them use the same one, but with 28 items. One of the studies use attitudes towards statistics and technology scales. So what I did is I compared stats 36 and stats 3. So they common measure value statistics cognitive competence, that means statistics self-concept effect. SATS 36 measure difficulty, effort, and interest, but SATS C doesn't. So the reason why we should combine SATS has items related to technology, like learning statistics with technology, cognitive competence. That's why it is better to combine these surveys. So, how about like which intervention can improve self-concept? This is I couldn't do meta-analysis because they are based on different approaches. So it is better to give this one like the very low to low practical significance, low to medium practical significance, medium to high practical significance. So there are like the 6 different approaches here. How to present results? Let's talk about this one as well. Here is the report, effects of information on outcomes. I did earlier. Summary of results. I summarize results with the graphs. Evidence quality, biases, limitation, key findings. There are some available guidelines that outline factors to consider when presenting results. These are Prisma, Quorum, Messer, Mars, Moose, Campbell, and Cochrane. You can use any of these, but when you use this one, any of these, you should indicate in methods section. That will improve the likelihood of getting your work published in that journal if you follow this one of these guidelines. There is also the ability after presenting the eligible studies to highlight remaining gaps in the fields, like recommendation for future research practice, also recommendation for policy and practice. Regarding recommendation and policy and practice, you should pay attention who is going to read your systematic review. For example, in my case, I thought that statistics lecturers or researchers will read. That's why I provide recommendation for them, like the recommendation for statistics lecturers, recommendation for researchers. In your case, the readers will be different, so you should provide specific recommendation for them as well. It is not only providing recommendation for future research. You should also do recommendations for readers as well. So I am about to finish my presentation. For greater dissemination, like for your systematic review to read by more people, you can publish it in Campbell collaboration, Cochrane, or journal articles. So let me share you general recommendation. Develop a research question to ensure it has manageable scope within the given frame time. The more detailed inclusion and inclusion criteria, the easier it is to search literature in clear and efficient manner. That will also reduce chance of error and bias. Lastly, conduct prior research with different search strings to determine which is the most effective one. Contact the authors about their work and ask questions for clarification, because in some articles, somehow they forget reporting mean and standard deviation. So when we contact with them, we will get these information. Like if, for example, you may need Chrome Wi-Fi values and something like that, it is okay for you to contact the authors. Of course, like you should give time frame for it. Like for example, you need like the 15 days to get answer. Otherwise, you need to exclude that one. Ensure that you have clear conceptual definition. It makes things easier when you have hundreds of thousands of abstract to screen, as you are sure of what your study is interested in and what meets your criteria. You should speak to subject librarian for guidance if unsure of search terms, databases, and search strategy. Also, you can get help from artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, or whatever you are familiar to. Like it can give you like a suggestion. Maybe you can miss some keywords. You can get help from these. Like kind of using Thesaurus dictionary. You should include gray literature when possible to overcome search, selection, and publication bias. You should recruit a colleague to help you to validate your screening and decision to reduce risk of error and bias. So, what tools you can use to help conduct systematic review? A peer reviewer, Covidence, Ryan, Rehman, Zotero, Campbell collaboration. There are many available tools around. Like I give example of some of them. So thank you for listening. You can ask me questions, any question that you have.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mehmet Filiz, for the very compact, and very insightful and also inspiring presentation. Mehmet explained three main parts on this presentation. The first is the difference between narrative and systematic review, and then step by step, or maybe the three main part of when we write a systematic review. The first is introduction. There is 5 stages, and then method, 6 stages, and writing result is 3 stages. And also Dr. Mehmet give some recommendation to improve our writing. Now we will open the session for question and discussion. Maybe for all participants, if you have any question, please feel free to raise your hand or type your question in the chat box.
Before getting question and answer, I would like to thank again for me to present my work. For me to do my presentation in your university. So I spoke to the dean of my faculty and rector of my university. We are open to any collaboration from your university, and we want to do like the collaborative studies. That's why in the chat section, I share my email address. Those who want to do like any collaboration in education, I can try to find colleague, but I cannot guarantee on the work on the same topic, or in science education, for example, primary school education, early childhood education, because I really enjoy working with JJP on mathematics education. Or if you guys any feedback on like there's any systematic review ideas, you can email me.
Yeah, all right, Mehmet, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So Mehmet, we can go to Q&A session for maybe about 30 minutes. It is okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oke. Baik, Bapak Ibu yang mau bertanya, dipersilahkan ya. If you have any question, feel free to raise your hand or maybe write in the chat box. Atau bisa gunakan bahasa Indonesia nanti yang translate Bu Nani gitu untuk bertanya ke Pak Mehmet atau Bu Ari ya. You can you can also talk in Indonesian. In this audience, many audience can speak English better than me. Yeah, maybe we can translate by Bu Nani or Bu Ari. Yeah. Or maybe Bu Nani want to ask question to Dr. Mehmet.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Pak Dr. Cecep. So,
Yeah.
Mehmet, thank you for your comprehensive explanation about literature systematic review. So my question is there regarding in the using of AI for scientific writing, tell us how is the policy in your university or in Turkey in your system of education, the using of AI for scientific writing?
Thank you for this question. Actually, in my university, it is like the AI tools for writing cannot be used.
Okay.
We don't have like any certain policies for using AI. That's why we don't allow our students to use AI in their research. But in my case, at some stage, I let them use AI. Otherwise, they will do all of their assignments by using AI. So it is better to give them some piece of freedom. In my case, like it is my opinion only, not the policy of my university. Well, for example, giving I am delivering like the course on project development in education. I often ask my students to discuss their research idea with AI, just like getting like the research like the shaping their research idea, because like I ask them to use their peers, their friend, because like sometimes their friend finds their research idea stupid, like it cannot be studied, but like it is not like that actually. Like we need, of course, like there are 100 students taking my course. I cannot help all of them to shape their research question or research ideas. That's why I asked them to use AI as their friend, like the peer, to discuss their ideas.
Okay, I know in some European country, I think they are now allow students, even PhD student, allowed to use AI, and they need to acknowledge, right? Like part of this work is based on AI.
Also, like I did, like I am associated editor of one of the Elsevier journal. Elsevier has a policy about it. Like when you use AI in your paper, you should indicate how did you use it. For example, like kind of like polishing your language. They allow this one. Like for example, English is our second language, so we need to get assistant. We need to get assist from someone or any tools to develop our writing. Before that, like uh, in Turkey, many scholars write their work in Turkish that they pay someone to translate. For example, I believe there is no difference between like paying someone to translate your work and paying AI to translate your work. It is the same because you don't write. Someone else or something else write for you.
Okay, thank you. So Pak Cecep, there's some question in the chat.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dr. Mehmet, for your answer. There are several questions in the chat box. The first is from Bapak Satiri ya, Pak Satiri ya. Okay, allow me to ask, is it still permissible to use the systematic literature review method in a dissertation study, considering that this research is conducted as a desk-based study without direct field practice? Please, Mr. Mehmet.
It depends on your supervisor and the policy of your department as well. For example, while I was doing PhD, I had a colleague. She did her thesis on like three piece of systematic review and meta-analysis. They allow her to do it. So it depends on the reviewers as well. For example, the work that I presented was part of my PhD thesis. Like my PhD thesis has three different literature reviews. Two of them were narrative. One is systematic review. The examiner coming from different university thought that she said in the thesis it is better to have narrative review. She doesn't like to have doesn't like to say the systematic review in the thesis, especially in the literature review section. Like when I heard this one, my response was to I have both, like my theses are good for like those who like systematic review and who doesn't like, because it has two parts. It depends on your supervisor, also the examiner committee. For me, it is better to have systematic review because it shapes your research questions. Also, like it will improve the quality of your work. I mean, like the importance. It will improve the importance of your work. How is different than other studies in systematic way?
All right, thank you.
Can I add the
Yeah,
answer
Bu
of that
Nani.
question?
Ya, ini karena pertanyaannya untuk Bu Nani ya sebenarnya. Pak Satiri, you can ask Bu Nani ya
I
about
will
this.
answer because most of these participants, they are our PhD student, Pak Mehmet. So Prodi allowed students to have LSR paper as the requirement for them to graduate. Of course, yeah. But I think doing your research, dissertation, to 1 year, 2 years, you should have a research article, right? And the LSR, you can use it and you can put it in chapter 2, Tinjauan Pustaka. So this is part of Tinjauan Pustaka. So we have particular chapter, Mehmet, for putting the literature systematic review. I mean, LSR is when you publish as an article, right, in the journal, but we also have a chapter for review, the relevant publication for the study that we're doing. I hope this will answer the question of Pak Satiri, for Pak Satiri and for all of the students.
Yes. Also, I would like to mention that SLR itself considers as literature review, like the review paper. It's
Yes.
not the research paper. If it has meta-analysis, it can be considered as research paper because you synthesis literature, you state a new outcome there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I think the question has been answered by Mr. Dr. Mehmet and also Dr. Nani. We still have a question from the chat box from Heni Hasibuan, ya, Bu Heni ya. Bu Heni has graduated. Bu Nani,
Just
Bu
recently.
Heni, just
Yeah.
recently, yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, Dr. Mehmet, is it necessary for every SLR to use Prisma? Is it absolutely required or can we
Actually,
yeah, go ahead.
like, I am at the editorial board, like the associate editor in two
Oh, nggak ada
journals,
yang nanya.
Amasya Educational Journal and International Journal of Educational Research. Like when I get paper systematic review, I just look at before sending to reviewers, I look at the basic elements. Is one of them Prisma diagram? I believe that it is necessary. You must have Prisma diagram in your research. It is like illustrating how many studies that you found. It's it shows up the how hard you study actually. Like
Okay.
the number of articles, like you read this number of articles, you did title screening, abstract screening, and full text screening. Also, it
Okay.
is
Yeah.
some kind of universal diagram. Even though it is in different language, you can recognize like the number of studies affiliated by title and abstract because it follows the same stages, even though it is in different languages.
Okay. Okay. Bu Heni still reply in the chat box. Yeah. In my opinion, SLR act as a crucial bridge for researcher to discover problems, factors, and research foundation. Therefore, conducting an SLR is extremely important at the beginning of a research project, especially for the student research. What's your opinion, Dr. Mehmet, about this statement?
I am on the same page with Hene because like now I don't have any PhD students. I have only master students in under my supervision. That's why I will not ask them to do systematic reviews because it takes some time. In my case, if I had doctoral students, I would definitely ask the students to systematic review about their topic. As I said, like doing systematic reviews will give you new research ideas. Also, it can highlight the importance of your research. So I think all researcher needs to know how to do systematic reviews. Of course, it is important.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Dr.
You're
Mehmet, for your thoughtful answer. Are there any other question from the audience?
Okay, can I ask question?
Okay.
So, Pak Mehmet, is there any minimum number of papers for doing systematic literature review? Minimum numbers, because you're doing filtering. Is there any minimum number in the end
Actually,
of?
there is no minimum number of studies.
Mhm.
If you cannot find any studies based on your criteria, that means like your eligibility criteria are very strict. So you should narrow it down. Otherwise, like there won't be any study in the topic. That's finding as well. I mean, for example, like when you ask someone to do meta-analysis, they say theoretically they can have, if you have only two results, you can do meta-analysis. So this is uh, not as strict as meta-analysis, so it allows you to do qualitative synthesis. That's why like a few papers will be enough, I guess. But the thing is that you can search for like the gray literature, or like that means like the book chapters, books, conference papers. Most likely you will have like more than 10 studies about that topic.
Because when
I have never heard that like, they cannot find enough study.
Yeah, what I found now here in our case in Indonesia, especially in the journal. So we have like a rank. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pak Cecep. Sinta. What is
Yeah.
the correct term for Sinta? The rank of the journal, national journal.
Iya, you can.
So we
Oh
have
ya, bisa begitu.
here we
Ya.
have a system called Sinta. Basically, that system will rank the journal from Sinta 1 till Sinta 5, Sinta 6. And what I found is in the journal, they give review paper only for 20 papers that they review. I don't
Yeah.
think it's sufficient to be called review or even systematic literature review. It's not, yeah. That's why I'm just wondering, can we call systematic literature review if inside the review only 20 papers that they get?
Yeah, we can call it because
Yeah?
like systematic reviews is I talk about the procedure, right? If you follow the same procedure, if you
Okay.
get the same result, that's fine.
Hmm. But maybe when you couldn't find the papers, you need to broaden the term for the
Yeah,
search, right?
but the thing is that like is, uh, if there are less than fewer than like 10 articles, I always look at the keywords, search thing, whether it's
Mm.
correct or not. If it is correct, like it has all possible keywords, I said it's fine. Another case will be looking at the search databases.
Mm.
Nowadays, like bibliometric analysis are getting popular. Only two, as far as I know, only two databases that allow you to do, like Web of Science and Scopus.
Mm.
Sometimes researchers can confuse between methodologies. So they might think that like to do systematic review using Scopus or Web of Science are enough. But it is not enough. As I said, in systematic review, we should also include the gray literature. That's why like you can find more than 10 articles. But, like I don't believe like even you have like 15 articles on that topic or something like that. Or like what you can do is like maybe like the time frame will be last 5 years.
Mm.
Like make it 10 years. Why did you make it 5 years? What is the special reason for that?
Okay.
Okay, any other question, Bu Nani?
Yes, Prof. Cecep, I
Oh,
want to ask.
oh
Yeah,
ya, Bu Kathy. Ya, silakan Bu, langsung bertanya ya ke Pak
okay.
Mehmet. Ya.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mehmet. I want to ask, as we know that the systematic literature review, it is a structured method to identify, evaluate, and interpret all available research relevant to the specific research questions or topic area. And then as we know that the SLR helps synthesize relevant study and uncover research gap or writing or research to focus in our work. That I want to ask Dr. Mehmet, uh, how to use the result of systematic literature review in guiding research decision and identifying gaps in current knowledge. I think
Okay,
enough. Thank you.
you're welcome. That's a good question. I can give you example from my PhD thesis because like many of you, at least some of you are doing PhD or masters. So as I said, my literature review had three part. The one of is systematic review that I share my result.
Mhm.
I was curious, like before starting my research, I was curious, like if I can find any intervention that I can, if I use any intervention to help me to
Mhm.
improve students' statistics self-concept. So also if you want to influence something, you should know how to measure it, right? So in my case, I was curious how I can measure statistical concept, how I can improve student statistical concept. So my scope was the aim of my there 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 were two aims for my systematic review. The first one, I found that like there are like three different scales questionnaire available. I combine all.
Mhm.
This is the answer of my this is kind of my recommendation for my research. I
Mhm.
will say. Also, like I realized that there are a lot of studies on using technology to improve students' self-concept. There are some evidence from the selected articles. There were only 7 articles that focus on improving students' statistical concept. I realized that there could be some evidence, piece of knowledge that I
Mhm.
can use, like the teacher feedback or
Mhm.
teacher feedback or peer feedback to improve students' statistical concept. That's why that helped me to shape my PhD research, like the
Mhm.
1/3 of my PhD research, I will say.
Yes, I mean that it is quite essential for our research to
Yeah.
interpret or identify anyone in others focus in our research. That's right, Mister?
You can think about in this way,
Yeah.
like during my presentation, I also slightly mentioned meta-analysis. Like nowadays, the people like the before conducting research, they ask you to compute the estimated sample size of research.
Okay.
In that case, to estimate the sample size, you need to use the effect size. The effect size, if you get effect size from meta-analysis, that will
Mhm.
be more reliable.
Mhm.
It is based on not only one research, more than one research. That's why it is more reliable. Systematic reviews are in that way. For example, if you do a research based on the recommendations, single research, and another case, if you do a research recommended by
Mhm.
systematic review, I believe the research idea recommended by systematic review are more valuable than only single research.
Oke, thank you, Mr.
You're
Mehmet.
welcome.
Oke, makasih Pak Cecep, Prof. Cecep.
Ya, makasih
Ya.
Bu Kathy dan pertanyaannya sudah dijawab ya.
Iya.
Nah, baik, mungkin we have still time until 15 10 minutes more maybe. If are there any other question from the audience? Bu Ari, ya silahkan Bu Ari.
Well, thank you, Mr. Cecep. Let me to ask to Professor Mehmet. I want to ask you for what are the best practice for developing a comprehensive and reproducible search strategy, including selecting databases and formulating search string. So,
So, there are two important stage is deciding keywords. You can decide keywords based on previous reviews or meta-analysis about that topic. Also, for example, if they publish systematic reviews or meta-analysis 10 years ago, there will be new developments in that field. So you need to read recent articles about that topic to finalize your search string. Also, as I said, try different words to find out how many articles that you get, how many studies that you get. Then you should start reading, like screening by title and by abstract. Sometimes when I read abstract, I realize that, like, for example, I I start working on statistics anxiety. So my keyword was statistics anxiety, fear of statistics, fear of stats, and that kind of stuff. But in some studies, I saw that like anxiety about statistics, anxiety about stats. That's why I revised my keywords, my search string to run it again, like back and forth. When I saw new expression, I add that one into my review, then run it again. So selecting databases are also important. For example, if you exclude one of the databases, you can miss reputable journals there. For example, if you don't include like Web of Science, you cannot find SSCI journals there. Most likely they are abstracted by Scopus, but anyway, you can miss some of the most important knowledge. So selecting how to decide which databases you should select. Again, in your major, you should look at the recent systematic review, which databases they use. For example, there is a journal called Education Research Review. It is like one of the most reputable journal that publish systematic reviews. You can look at the last 2 years, like the reviews on education, which databases they use, how they get great literature, like what kind of sources they use to get conference papers and so on. You can use a similar strategy. Of course, your keywords will be different. You are going to get different results. Also, like to generate keywords, like you can use AI as a thesaurus. You can get the synonymous of words. For example, how to state like statistics anxiety in different way or something like that. You can ask that kind of questions. That will help you to develop like search string and selecting databases. In total, developing like your search strategy.
Okay, thank you, Professor Mehmet. But when I want to search some journal at Scopus, sometimes I have difficulties finding sources for previous studies because I don't know have access because some journal need access for download or maybe just read like that. Yeah, could you to give the tip for I can read more the journal Scopus.
So what I do is like my university provides like proxy. I can access it anywhere. Sometimes I cannot access the full text articles because my university didn't subscribe that journal. I always contact with the authors, sending his emails. So I give like for example, I have time frame 2 weeks. If I cannot get response within 2 weeks, I exclude that article from my synthesis because in full text, in one of my inclusion criteria, full text must be accessible. That's why if I cannot access, I cannot do anything. Like I wait a few days. If I cannot get response from corresponding articles, I start emailing the other authors there to get the papers. That's what we can do. But if someone asks my paper, I would be happy to share with them. So there won't be any problem with that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mehmet.
You're welcome.
Oke, baik. Bapak Ibu, masih ada yang lain? Any other question? Kalau sudah tidak ada, mungkin kita bisa tutup ya. Oke. Karena nggak ada pertanyaan ya, Bapak Ibu. Thank you very much for the engaging discussion and all the great questions from all of the audience. But before we close this session, Dr. Mehmet, would you like to maybe highlight any key points for the audience? Please, Dr. Mehmet.
Okay. So, as you can understand from my presentation, conducting systematic review is not easy. It is not hard as well, but it is not very simple. So it is better to get together with your colleague. It is important also for the reliability and validity of your colleague. It is better to collaborate with your friends. Like your research question could be similar or different. It doesn't matter. Like doing together is very important. While I was doing my PhD, like we were asking feedback from like our supervisors on the selection of article but we found many articles, right? As I said, like I reviewed more than 100 articles. I asked one of my colleagues, I asked her like, let's do cross-checking our work. Also, it can improve your like the kind of research portfolio, like you can improve rather than publishing one paper, you can publish both two papers. So it is important to collaborate with your friends. Also, like some of people are willing to share their knowledge. So about systematic reviews, their expertise on that topic, it's better to contact with them. Especially while I was writing my PhD thesis, I asked question to authors. Like I wouldn't like I had a question. Like at first stage, like I was novice about the topic, so like my supervisor often answer my question. Then when you read more, you get more expert. Sometimes you know more than your supervisor about that topic because your supervisor cannot know anything about your topic, right? So the question that you can have cannot be answered to your supervisor. So you need to just email to that person. Like whenever I email the professors, like even though they got retired, they they forward my email to their like the students to answer my question. I mean, their students are professor, but I would say their colleague. So it is better to contact with the people. For example, if you are working on specific topic, you can get feedback on your search string, whether these are relevant or not. They might ask you to include more keywords. So you should explicitly state your inclusion and exclusion criteria. This is very important. If you have like actually state any time frame, uh, you should mention that why did you select this time frame. Actually, like finally, I would say follow one framework. In my case, Pico is really simple. I use Pico framework to formulate my research question, to write my search string, to create a data extraction table, even for writing my findings. Use like select any framework. For me, Pico was very simple at that time. There might be other frameworks available. You just follow it will help you to uh, like go through like all the stages. You cannot miss anything if you follow. Like when you pass one stage, just use the tick mark, like the completed mark. That's it. Like use the certain protocols, like guidelines. Yeah, this will be my recommendation. Just like careful about your research question, search it, use the guidelines. like I would say top 3 recommendations. Also, like if you guys can email me from the database, I can email you my presentation as well. You can take a look at the presentation. Also, I emailed to Nani. She can share with you.
Okay, I can share. So your material, your presentation can be shared with the other participant,
Yeah.
with students. Okay.
Also, as I said, like any professors or any students wants to collaborate with someone from our university, we are willing to do collaboration. Like maybe we can plan other event later.
Yeah. We will looking forward for our further discussion after this lecture to collaborate more on research as well as in education, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mehmet, Bu Nani. We truly appreciate the time and knowledge that Dr. Mehmet Filiz has shared with us today. Thank you very much. The session has ended. I now return the screen to the MC, Bu Ari, to close this section. Thank you, Mehmet. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Cecep. We extend our deepest gratitude to Dr. Cecep Anwar Hadi, and especially to Associate Professor Mehmet Filiz, Ph.D., for the invaluable knowledge and insights shared with us today. We hope the material presented will be beneficial for us. And the next event is, let us close today's series of events by asking for blessing from God Almighty. Let's say the Hamdalah together.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin.
Okay. Before I close this event, let me to read the pantun and then please to say cakep. Pohon di taman daunnya rimbun.
Cakep.
Cakep.
Tempat burung hinggap mencari sarang.
Cakep.
Cakep.
Selesai sudah acara ini, mari kita tutup dengan senyum. Semoga ilmu bermanfaat terus terbayang.
Cakep.
Honorable ladies and gentlemen, with that, the entire series of this expert lecture has concluded. I, Arifadil Nalfari, as the Master of Ceremony, apologize for any shortcoming or misstep throughout the event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Once again, thank you, Dr. Mehmet.
Thank you, Dr. Mehmet.
Thank you, Pak
You're
Cecep.
welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bu Ari. Thank you, everybody. So